You didn't quit. You're really like against all odds. You're doing something that no one in the family's done, that none of your friends have done.
I'm just gonna say the thing you're not supposed to say.
Whatever is mine is looking for me.
You have to know what road to take to get to your final destination.
Everything that you ever wanted is on the other side of fear.
Hello, good evening. I know this is a little bit late, but I just released a new video on my Patreon about shadow work, the introduction for beginners. So if you are interested in that, check it out. This is what it looks like. And if you're ready to dive deep within yourself to do some shadow work, tap in. Okay, there will be a link below in the description box. So I wanted to talk about the Desmond Scott situation because some things have came out, some things have publicly unfolded, and as I predicted, a lot of things have been revealed just with time. So, the whole saying or the whole reasoning behind Desmond cheating was because he wanted peace. So he cheated, created a public scandal, forced his wife at the time to file for divorce. But everyone on social media, or I won't say everyone, but the majority of the conversation was, well, she was annoying, she was this and she was that, and he just wanted peace. Desmond does not want peace. And his choices have exposed that. So I wanted to talk about this. So Desmond Scott has been at the center of several media storms lately, one involving his high profile divorce and his new dating rumors. So within recent headlines involving Marissa Springer, a Houston model, a Houston model, a Houston model, Desmond was seen kissing back in January, shortly after his wife had filed for divorce. She recently sat down and did a TMZ interview. She talked about a shopping spree and hush money. And let's not forget that they split around late December. Early January was when Christy filed for divorce, citing infidelity. So that was the whole timeline. Now it's recently came out. Shout out to Is That Legal by Simone? Let me pull it up. She recently revealed in this live stream that it seems like they had issues prior to this public scandal. Hold on, let me put myself. So prior to this public scandal, they were already going through some marital issues. So let's get into what she has to say, and then I'm gonna go from there.
Now we got some tea. I have gotten my hands on unsealed documents from the Scott's divorce. And the timeline, y'all, it is not matching what the internet has been screaming, okay? These filings show that their marriage has been rocky allegedly for years. So I'm going to share some of those unsealed documents with you. We're going to talk about what they mean. And then I want you to tell me in the chat below, what do you think this timeline means? And most importantly, what we're going to break down is that it's not a prenup that they have, but a post-up. We're going to talk about what that is, what it means, and how some of these signs and the evidence has really been laying there in plain sight. So hit that like, hit that subscribe as you coming in. So you guys are here because you already at least have an idea on who the Scotts are. Desmond and Christy Scott, they are based in Houston, Texas. They are influencers with a combined over 12 million followers, okay? They bring in six figures a month, over $100,000 per month as a married couple. And when we're talking about the signs that this thing has been rocky for a minute, the biggest sign, y'all, is a post-nup. All right, here's the timeline. The timeline matters. And what I'm going to do in this video is I'm going to try to give you all you need to know in under 20 minutes. Me and my ADD working together to give you the tea. So the timeline is this. They married in August. I'm sorry. In August of 2014. They've been married for over a decade, but they tout the fact that they are a happy little Jehovah's Witness couple. Praise Jehovah. And they met when they were 14 years old. They have been together since they were actually 14. Now, the first thing I thought is, and you thought nobody would cheat? Honey, sir, ma'am, listen, I don't have the same pair of panties since then. Okay. There are a lot of things you just don't keep the same since you're 14 years old. And so I can't think of a couple that's been together that long where somebody ain't dibble dabble. I mean, how do you even know that you like what you like if all you've had is that one? But we'll get into that. So they've been together since they were 14. They're Jehovah's Witness. And in the Jehovah's Witness faith, the only way you're allowed to divorce is for infidelity. And in fact, in some instances, you can separate, which is one of the things that Desmond claimed that he asked for prior to stepping out. But in Jehovah's Witness faith, you can only separate if there's extreme abuse. Like somebody's got to be knocking up on top of your head. Okay. They got to be hitting you upside the head or something very severe, which gratefully didn't happen here. But here we're talking about what is one of the pieces of evidence that these two and their.
And see, we originally were speculating based off of the statement that Desmond put out that he had cheated on her on purpose, that he had created this public scandal on purpose because he wanted to burn everything down. And in my opinion, this is my opinion, to reassert this masculine dominance publicly because he was living in his wife's shadow. So how could you reassert your dominance over another person? By betraying them. And I believe that that was his motive. Now, was he aware? Because a lot of people do things toxically, and sometimes they're aware of what they're doing, and sometimes they're not. Sometimes they're intentional, and sometimes they're just reacting. And they don't know how to explain the feelings or their unresolved issues. So sometimes it comes out in a unhealthy way. So he cheated on purpose to create this public scandal. And we're going to get into other receipts that I have to provide my reasoning behind why I have the opinion that I have. But that's what we were speculating. I'm like, why does it almost seem like he cheated on her on purpose? And he did it publicly to humiliate her, to kind of humble her. And he did it to reassert this dominance because she had this star power energy and he was in the shadow of her star power energy and light. And so he wanted to assert some type of dominance over her publicly to kind of save really his masculinity, because that's really what it was, because he felt emasculated. He felt like, and I don't think that she did it on purpose. I think it was just, her just being more successful in the content creating world compared to him, who somewhat struggles a little bit. And we've seen this before. Women do very well online with content creating. Like, this really isn't new, but it was something that he eventually, I believe, this is strictly my opinion, that he just could not handle. And it really triggered his ego. It triggered his self-esteem. It triggered his manhood. It triggered probably also his feeling of being the authoritative figure in the home and being the head of the house. It really triggered a lot of things. And I think that that's why you're seeing Desmond out here distracting himself with these casual flings with women that really are beneath Christy. Like, we just have to be real. They really are beneath. Just in the way that she carries herself, in the way that she looks, in the way that she treats others. Like, she's a kind person. Like, it doesn't even seem like she's one of those attractive, beautiful women that are like snobby, mean, or has like this mean spirited. She actually seems like she's a great person. She seems like she's a great mother from what I can see. But it's interesting how he goes out and he chooses women that are the complete opposite of the woman that he was married to for 11 years. And again, it's to humiliate her. It is to humble her. It is to make her feel small because he was in her shadow for a very long time. And so now with this public scandal, he's able to regain some type of dominance, and he's using these casual flings publicly to do that.
Unsealed documents have talked about themselves, y'all. That's the postnup. So a postnup is critical, okay? There was no prenup. So many have said, oh, they had a prenup. They had a... No. Y'all, they got together 10 years ago when neither of them had anything. This was prior to them being big influencers. It would not have made sense for this happy little Jehovah's Witness couple to have even entertained a prenup. Like, that's against the beliefs of Jehovah's. You know, they're not even allowed to do Christmas. They can do Thanksgiving. They can't do Christmas. They can't do birthdays. They can't even get blood transfusions, okay? So the last thing that Jehovah's is going to allow them to do is get a prenup. So that didn't happen. But they did get a postnup, okay? And here's what a postnup is. A postnup is after you're married, you come to an agreement, you sign a written agreement that delineates how things are going to be split up if you divorce.
Now, why would they do that? It's really given he was already out here. It's really given that he had already cheated. So if he was cheating on the low, because we didn't know, the internet did not know. We thought that this man was faithful. Remember, that was the original story. Like, oh, he was faithful and he was this good guy and he was a family man. And then he just got sick and tired of her because he wanted peace. But no, he's actually been cheating for quite some time now. He stepped out before the public humiliation, which means that he did it on purpose because he wanted to be caught. Whereas before, when he didn't want to be caught, he wasn't caught. So he did this on purpose because he wanted to be caught. And again, it was to humiliate her on purpose and to do it publicly and to choose women that she would be able to see and compare herself to again assert his dominance. So let's continue.
Okay, now here is a copy of a portion of their marital petition that Christy filed. And specifically, I want you to see here, it says that they have a marital property agreement. That would be what we're talking about here, the postnup. It says Christy and Desmond Scott have entered into a marital property agreement defining their rights to all property, both community and separate. A copy of the agreement will be provided to the court at a later date. Christy Scott requests the court to enforce the agreement and divide the marital estate in accordance with its terms. This is also important. Nothing in this petition should be construed as a challenge to the marital property agreement.
And then it's so interesting that Farm D, my biggest fan, is saying that he was just tired of all the extraness. But have you seen his content? Oh, we gonna get into it because I come with receipts. I'm come with receipts. I don't have an opinion just because I formed an opinion. I formed an opinion because of what I'm seeing. Always remember that I'm not just pulling shit out of my ass. I'm gonna convince you that my opinion may be actually true with receipts. So stick around because I want you to keep that same energy later. But let's continue. We got to take care of business. We have to go back in history first.
Now, a marital property agreement, that means postnup because it means you entered into it once you were married. The other thing that's important, how she adds here, nothing in this petition should be considered a challenge to the postnup. Here, guys, this is why Desmond ain't saying ish. Okay, why Desmond ain't saying ish, ain't finna say ish, is because this sentence was likely added in here, according to attorney Brenda DeRuin, likely because most postnups have a phrase in there that says if you contest this agreement, you don't get nothing, or you have to pay all the attorney's fees, or that there is a penalty, a big time penalty, because the whole point of having a postnup is a smooth divorce. Everybody knows what everybody's supposed to be getting. So this is Christy saying, hey, look, I'm just filing for divorce. I'm not contesting. I'm just filing and saying, give me what's in that agreement. That also makes sense, y'all, why Desmond doesn't even have a lawyer and isn't fighting for anything outside. Desmond already knows what he's entitled to. Why? Because they ironed this out years ago when they started getting on each other's last doggone nerve down back in 2021. Which would have been about 5 years ago, okay? Right around COVID. Everybody hated everybody in COVID. That's why everybody in COVID was getting divorced. But COVID was also when they were at the height. They were doing really good. People were sitting around like couples goals. Oh, these two people like each other. Ain't neither one of them medium ugly. They were just cute patooties, okay? They were goals. But that is why this postnup is so valuable, but also why it indicates, basically it was a clue in plain sight here, that they've been trying to work this out for a while. And it could also mean that infidelity is not something new. Now that's significant as well, because in Texas, Infidelity alone does not entitle you to more. See, with a postnup, okay, so a postnup is only going to determine assets. I want to be clear. Under the law, it is not permitted to determine child custody, who gets the kids, child support. That cannot be determined in a postnup because that goes by what is in the best interest of the kids. Now, you can agree to that later, but it cannot be limited in a postnup. So, to be clear on that. However, with a postnup or
And it's really giving that Desmond was planning his exit. Like he was planning it. But why? But why was he planning it? Because the internet is like, oh, he wanted peace and he wanted this and he wanted that. But ever since he separated from this woman, she's been in therapy, having peace, and he's been outside, creating chaos, creating drama, adding more fuel to this public scandal of the fact that the reason why his wife divorced him was because of infidelity. That doesn't bring more peace. That doesn't bring more peace to your life. That actually brings more chaos. But Christy's in peace and he's in chaos dealing with 2 other women. So let's take a break, right? So why was Desmond trying to escape this marriage? Let's pull it up. Because this actually saved his ass. This actually saved his ass. So let's pull this up. Let me pull up this. Now, this is what was interesting to me. So one thing that I have been noticing with Desmond is that he mirrors Christy. The aesthetic, the lifestyle content, the cooking videos, the fashion. So you all know I live in Texas. I live in Houston. It's hot as fuck. Okay, it's hot. And some of the stuff I would see Christy wear, I'm like, girl, you wearing that outside? It is hot. Like she be wearing like leather. She be wearing gloves. You know how she be wearing all the funny little outfits and things like that? And I'm like, it is so hot. Like who would ever do that? And Desmond always came across like he would be so annoyed by how extra she was. But guess who was caught being extra at the rodeo? Mirroring his ex-wife. Let me pull it up. Now, this is just a man showing off his outfit at the rodeo. It's no big deal. In leather gloves? The leather gloves? I'm like, wait a minute. Wait a minute, leather gloves. That's what your ex-wife used to do. So this is my question. Is this Christy or is this him? Or did he steal this from Christy? And now that he's divorced her, he can be the star of his own show. And he doesn't have to be in the shadow of his wife, who was the bigger star. Because I'm like, and yes, I'm always paying attention to the slightest details because I'm like, the gloves. So then let me show you. Because Christy, if you've watched her content, then you know she always does like these crazy antics. So let me pull up this other video. I'm trying to see. Do I have? Here it is. Mind you, it's hot in Texas. It's hot. Y'all, we don't even get to wear fur here. And to the historians, tell me I'm like, do we get to wear fur here? But Christy was always this crazy girl that would do the most extravagant things. So was he really annoyed by her extraness or was he jealous of it? Because he wanted to do that, but he couldn't do it in her shadow. But now that he's not with her, he can do the extraness. Let me know. Because I'm just like, who wears leather gloves to a rodeo? Who does that? Christy does that. Christy would do something like that. Christy went to the grocery store with leather gloves. So then, let's go back. I'm trying to see if I could show the girl. Was the girl in the bed? Is there any girl in the bed? Hold on, let me see. Trying to see. Is there any girl? And the reason why I'm mentioning this is because it was hot. Like at the rodeo, you had girls in shorts and all type of stuff. So it's weird to see him with leather gloves. But I was like, what? I was like, wait a minute. I was like, didn't Chrissy do that? So not only is he copying her when it comes to like the fashion, but he's also copying like her style, like her content creating style. So I was like, oh, okay. And if you go back on Desmond's Instagram, go way back. That originally wasn't really his style. Okay. I don't know if are y'all able to see that? No, you're not able to see it. This is more of his like content. Okay. With mixed in with family stuff. So let's go back to Simone about the divorce.
Or a prenup, what can happen is when you are disputing or when there is infidelity, what infidelity can do is
Like,
instead of the assets being split 50-50, the victim of the infidelity could be entitled to, let's say, 55% versus 45 or something like that. They don't stray large. It's not going to be no 7.
Hold on. Ace is saying I'm reaching, but look at this too. Look at this. Look at this. A suit just to go to the grocery store? Okay. Are you sure? Let me. Okay, let's go back to Simone.
70-30, but here that's not even an issue because it's going to go by the postnup. And the postnup may very well have a provision that has a cheating provision in there. That may be why Christy put on page 1, infidelity, page 1 of the petition. But here's the other thing about infidelity. If you are going to court, right, if you don't have that postnup and you are claiming infidelity, infidelity cannot be a grounds of getting less spousal support, okay? Unless there's DV, domestic violence. But you cannot penalize the other person and say no spousal support for cheating. Whatever the spousal support they would be entitled to under the law, and in Texas, you got to be married at least 10 years. They were actually married 12 because they've been married since 2014, or I guess 11 years. He would whatever he's entitled to, whatever that amount would be, he would still be entitled to. You cannot decrease his spousal support for cheating, but you could if the victim, if it was the victim going for it, if it was Christy asking him for it, she could potentially ask for more. However, here, Christy, the victim, the alleged victim of the infidelity, isn't the one that would be moving for spousal support because she makes more. Okay. And then also with the spousal support in Texas, when you have that premarital agreement like they have here, not premarital, postmarital is what they have here, pre or postnup, either one can say this is what you do or don't get for cheating. So in other words, everything's been determined by this premarital agreement. The only thing that's left to chance is they're going to have to come together to agree on custody, visitation, and child support. And in Texas, child support is 20%. Well, for 2 kids, yeah, it's 20%.
So my point is he strategically ended the marriage. This wasn't a lapse of judgment. This was done intentional. That's my point. So this whole he was seeking a separation, all of that was just BS. He completely lied about that. So he knew what he was doing and he did it on purpose. And his motivation was, I'm secretly jealous of my wife because she is the star and I am just a co-star when it comes to her stardom, and I want to be the main star, and I want her to be the co-star. But because of, they started this business, she started to blow up, she just blew up super fast. He had no control over that. So a toxic masculine is going to try to regain that control. So he cheated. And it really gives midlife crisis. So he didn't choose peace. He chose his ego, and he chose a midlife crisis. So let me pull this up because I talked about this in my shadow work video on my Patreon. Here's the outer world. Here's his persona. He's trying to perform this mature, masculine energy, which is very performative, to protect his ego, because he doesn't want to, he doesn't mind looking like the villain, but he wants to look like the villain because he chose his peace and his truth and his real authentic self. But did you have to cheat? No, you didn't have to cheat, but you did it because it served your ego and you wanted to redeem your ego publicly. So you had to humble your wife, and you created a public scandal on purpose. The ego, when it's healthy, it serves to protect your self-esteem and your self-identity, which are two things that he is obviously struggling with. And then his shadow convinced him that he wanted that control. He wanted that uh he wanted the spotlight. So instead of him healing his self-esteem, truly finding his true self and his self-identity, he chose his ego, and he chose a midlife crisis, and he chose to use this mask of a persona to be like this mature masculine, so that he could project to the outer world that he's a great man that just made a mistake. But ultimately, he was just a man that was jealous of his wife, and he refused to do the work on himself to regulate his feelings. So the easiest thing for him to do was to cheat. That's it. It was to cheat. And what is he struggling with? So he's struggling with his anima. Anima is feminine intellect that is used to help balance your emotions. And that's what he's truly struggling with. So he's struggling with that. And then it's causing this confusion, disappointment, maybe even anger, resentment in his inner world towards his wife. So it's the reason why he betrayed her. And he had to do it publicly because of his ego. So let's continue.
20% of your income, that is a flat rate max, $2,300 a month for 2 kids, even if they are millionaires. And whoever is not the primary parent has to pay it to the other. It's not like Georgia where they add your incomes together and it's pro rata. No, you got to give up your coins no matter what.
Well, with the toxic positivity that's going on social media, there are people out here that choose to be the villain, but they're choosing it from a place of getting, like, really hurting someone. And when you really look at villains, they became a villain because someone hurt them. But in this case, it doesn't seem like Christy hurt him. Christy just became successful. That's it. And his ego got hurt in the process. So he became the super villain towards her because of his ego, not because she actually did something to him. But the internet is trying to portray her as if she did something to him to force him to become this super villain, so that he could feel vindicated in the fact that she's just more popular. She's just more of a superstar. But that's not her fault. Is she supposed to dim her light to make him feel comfortable? No. He could not handle it. So he decided to become a supervillain. And the only reason why he's a supervillain is because of his ego, not because she did something to him.
But no, let's think about let's think about the importance of why on earth you would want a postnup. Even after 7, 8, 9 years of marriage. Well, and after being together since you're 14, if you went in 2021 or 2023 and got that postnup. A postnup is critical, okay? There was no prenup. So many have said, oh, they had a prenup. No. Y'all, they got together 10 years ago when neither of them had anything. This was prior to them being big influencers. It would not have made sense for this happy little Jehovah's Witness couple to have even entertained a prenup. Like, that's against the beliefs of Jehovah's. You know, they're not even allowed to do Christmas. They can do Thanksgiving. They can't do Christmas. They can't do birthdays. They can't even get blood transfusions, okay? So the last thing that Jehovah's is going to allow them to do is get a prenup. So that didn't happen. But they did get a postnup, okay? And here's what a postnup is. A postnup is after you're married, you come to an agreement, you sign a written agreement that delineates how things are going to be split up if you divorce. Baby, you don't do a postnup unless things are going awry. Something in the milk ain't clean, okay? So I have this friend. She's very dumb. Well, she's not my friend anymore, but she's very, very dumb. She was married about 10 years, and her spouse asked her for a postnup. And she called me and she was like, Simone, what do you think I should do? I said, put your panties on and run. Get the hell up out of there. She said, why? We've been together 10 years. I said, exactly. 10 years and you have a child. In fact, their child with special needs. And this man going to come to you talking about something he wants a postnup. This means he hates you, girl. This means he feels you have provided no value in their situation. He thinks you provided no value to the marriage because he opened a business while they were married. The business is now a multi-million-dollar business. She works at the business. Her only job,
So who do you think came to the conclusion that they should get a postnup? Do you think it was Desmond? Or do you think it was Christy? Because it's really given. If you remember the statement that he put out here originally, it's really given. He plotted and he planned. He's been plotting and planning his exit for a very long time. And then it was all for him to deal with women like this. Let me pull it up.
Amazing cook. I won't deny that. Even though he couldn't come with me publicly, he still gave me his card to go on an unlimited shopping spree for me and even treated my friends. Nothing that I asked for, but was really generous with it.
That's pretty nice. How far into the relationship did he start, showering you with gifts?
Oh, this was like the day after we met.
What? Okay, wait. So we posted the videos of you guys making out. That was the first time you met. So the following day, he gives you his credit card and says, buy whatever you want.
Basically, probably hush money, but I also didn't really realize the situation publicly until that time when he couldn't come like shopping with me in person.
Now, let's all remember, too, the reason why I'm implying that he most likely plotted and planned to strategically leave his marriage was because shortly after Christy filed, he was already outside. He already had flings lined up. Because let's look at this, too. And I'm just going off of his energy. I'm going to come back to that. I'm just going off of his energy. He already had checked out of the relationship. So if a man come to you with a postnup, girl, that's the cautionary tale here. After the fact, and I'm not saying that you shouldn't sign one. You probably should. You probably should, or talk to a lawyer. Either you should or you shouldn't. It just depends on the situation. It depends on the situation. In this case, I think it was in Christy's best interest because she made more money. But if you don't make more money and you had his kids, you probably shouldn't sign that postnup. But Christy signing the postnup was probably in her best interest. I wonder if Simone is going to talk about that. But he had already checked out of his relationship. So after she had filed, he created that public scandal so that he could immediately separate from the brand that he had created with her online. He didn't want to go through this drawn out separation publicly. He wanted that immediate separation. So he created that public scandal of him being with that girl, Marissa. So let me pull it back up.
Amazing cook.
Showering you with gifts.
Oh, this was like the day after we met.
What? Okay, wait. So we posted the videos of you guys making out. That was the first time you met. So the following day, he gives you his credit card and says, buy whatever you want.
What man that's truly looking for peace is out here wanting to be a trick? Is Farm Ace, is he still in here? What kind of man goes from being with his wife to now stepping outside of that union that he no longer wants to be a part of? He destroyed on purpose to go trick and compete with other men. Like, who does that? Oh, a man that is driven by his ego, that's trying to feel masculine and dominant again publicly because he was in his wife's shadow for years. That's who. Strictly my opinion, but that's who.
Basically, probably hush money, but I also didn't really realize the situation publicly until that time when he couldn't come like shopping with me in person.
And then, did he pay her to talk to TMZ?
Because he was like going through public.
Because she's a model. She benefits from this. Clout, attention. She blew up. Hella people on her page. Hella people on her page. Did he give her the shopping spree to help him with the scandal? Or did he allow her to take the shopping spree just because he just wanted to trick? Because she's been on a tour. She's made I don't know how many videos. She's did an interview with TMZ. And I'm like, what woman wants to be attached to something like this? A woman that wants clout. But this is a man that wants peace. Make it make sense.
Things. I was like public things, and then I kind of put two and two together.
And she may have double dipped. He may have paid her, and then she took the money with TMZ. And then she got the clout, and she got the followers, and she got the attention.
But so the day after, he just gave you his card and said, you go on a shopping spree by yourself?
And then Desmond was able to publicly separate from his wife, which means he publicly separated from the family brand that they created together. And that was immediate. And then he was also able to create this scandal that's catcalled basically other women to come flock to his DMs. I mean, it just seems like he's strategically planned this.
Yes.
Got it. And then what did you buy yourself? Or I guess, what did he buy you?
Bags, of course, what every girl wants. Bags, clothes, just necessities, things that I wanted, needed.
Did he have a maximum of how much you could spend? 100K, or did he say unlimited?
Lower than that, like 25K, something like that.
What kind of bags did you buy? What brand?
YSL, Gucci. I'm a YSL girl.
Wow, okay. When was the last time you guys spoke, and what was that conversation like?
Probably about a month ago or so, and very cordial. Like, we just agreed to kind of keep it cordial and nothing more than that. Obviously, there was never intentions of a relationship or anything. We have very different lifestyles.
So we broke the story that Desmond is now casually dating Dana Tran, who's Diddy's ex. What is your reaction to him dating her?
Definitely seems a little out of character for him. It surprised me because I saw that name pop up on his phone, but he never answered the calls when I was with him, so I didn't know who it was or care. But I did see that a while.
And listen, Marissa didn't even have to tell me. You want to know why? I'm gonna show you why here in a minute. Give me let her wrap it up. I'm gonna show you why I believe that they are secretly seeing each other, but not really secretly seeing each other.
Back.
Do you think their relationship will last?
I hope so. I mean, I know he's going through a tough time, so I would wish him the best.
And just in case Desmond is watching this interview right now, is there anything you want to say to him?
Diddy's out soon, so be careful.
And then what man that is seeking peace would deal with a woman that dealt with Diddy? That's crazy. That is really crazy. So let me show you this too. He divorces his wife. He starts carrying bags around. And you know, Christy love a good bag. You know, there were videos of him getting annoyed because she was so extra with her bags. And look who's being extra as hell. And that's a big bag. It's like, what's in the bag? What y'all think is in the bag? I can't make it up. This is suspicious. This is suspicious. It's really given. I wanted to be the baddie. And I couldn't be the baddie because I married a woman that was the better baddie, the bigger baddie. That's what it's really given. Cause that's a big bag, y'all. That's not no little, like, what, the little male purses that kind of strap across your chest or something like that. That is a large handbag. Like, I could carry that, and people would think that I got that from the woman's department, not the man's department. Okay, now and then the type of woman that he got with was what's her name? Dana Tran. And you know the type of activities you gotta be into when you dating a diddler. The body oil. Mm. So let's continue. Let's continue. So this is when I was like, oh, I believe the rumors are true about the whole Dana Tran relationship. And I do wonder what kind of relationship do you think they have? But let me pull it up. This is when I was like, oh, this is true. Let me see if I can find it. Here it is.
Today's episode of Food Around the World, I'm cooking a Vietnamese dish known as Thit Ca, which is a Vietnamese braised pork belly dish. And honestly, it's really simple to make.
Now, who was that inspired by? Who is that inspired by?
It tastes amazing over rice. Now, this is my first time making it. I've done a lot of research, and I found a recipe that I like because you know how it is.
I did a lot of research. Where did you do your research at? Who did you talk to?
And honestly, it's really simple to make. It tastes amazing over rice. Now, this is my first time making it. I've done a lot of research, and I found a recipe that I like because you know how it is. Every household makes it slightly different. The first thing we're gonna do, we're gonna slowly brown our sugar. So we add our white sugar to the pan, and we start to cook it until it starts to turn nice, beautiful brown color. Then we take our pork belly that I've already cubed up, and we add that to our pot to coat in the sugar. Next, we're gonna add garlic, shallot, and give that a stir. Then we're gonna add some Thai chili. You know me, I like it hot. We add black pepper, and then we stir to coat. Now, this wouldn't be Thit Ca without fish sauce. Add a little bit of seasoning sauce, and of course, I had to have the Coco Rico.
No, it gives Copycat. It gives Copycat. And maybe you've never dealt with a copycat. Maybe you've never dealt with someone that hates you because the internet said that, oh my God, he can't stand her, but copies her. If you can't stand a person, you don't copy anything about them because you can't stand the person. You don't like the person. But that's when you're conflicted within yourself because on one hand, you can't stand the person, but is it because you want to be more like them, but you feel like you can't? So instead you hate and then you copy. Because, and that was the whole thing, that the point that I made in my last video. I'm like, okay, if he don't like her, then he's not going to copy her. He's not going to mimic her. He's not going to continue to follow her on Instagram. Because why are you following her on Instagram? She unfollowed you, but is she your muse? But that's like a person that can't stand you, but still keeps up with you. Secretly doesn't like you or hate you, but still keeps up with you and then copies you. If you can't stand a person, you don't copy them at all. You just don't do it because you can't stand them. That's the whole point. So let me continue.
Water to create the braise, and then let it cook until the sauce is thickened. And don't forget to throw in a few boiled eggs. This dish was amazing. You guys gotta try it.
Okay, let me continue. Now let me see. Now the interesting thing is Christy is in therapy. Which is crazy because she posted this video. Let me see if I can find it. Is it this? No, not that one. And it really seems like Chrissy is the only one that's really seeking peace. You don't really see her hanging out with a bunch of people. No, the caption reads, "My therapist said treat myself, so I did." Do I need to blow it up? It seems like the only person that's really seeking peace is Christy. But instead, you got Desmond that's out here entertaining these casual flings, dealing with women that are only causing more drama in his life. And you don't think Christy could be out here? Christy could definitely be out here. And we've seen women do it, Cardi B, no shade. But we've seen women do it. If she really wanted to be out here in these streets, she very well could. She could be outside. What is stopping her from being outside? She's actually seeking help because she went through a public betrayal and it was humiliating, embarrassing. And it was with someone that she knew for a very long time. So she probably doesn't trust anyone right now. But the person that betrayed her is outside doing everything but seeking peace. Let me see. This is him outside living his best life. And she's struggling to put herself together. And then he's disconnected. And this is another thing too. One thing that I notice about women immediately deal with things emotionally and then men disconnect. So they escape or they avoid how they really feel. Do I think Desmond regrets his choice? Yes, because I believe that he did not consider what he was really giving up. I think he was in an illusion like, oh, I feel so caged in this marriage, in this relationship, this public brand, everything that he chose to build, but then he felt caged in by it. So when you feel caged in by something that you built, then what do? You destroy it. You break it all the way down, you burn it to the ground. And so that's what he did. But at the time, he did it from a place where he was imbalanced within himself, within his ego. He did it at a time where he probably wasn't even thinking clearly. And that's the thing. You can be emotionally driven by your ego. And I believe that that's what it was. He lost a teammate too, because they made content creating together. They had a whole formula together. They had a business together. So he lost a teammate as well. It wasn't even that he just lost his marriage and his family. He lost a teammate. And that's another thing too, is it's very rare to come across a woman that has that divine feminine energy where anything she touches, it multiplies. Christy has that. And so it's probably going to take some time for her energy to kind of wear off of him because they've been together for so long. But when it really wears off, you're going to see a decline, because when you're attached to a woman like that, and a lot of men fumble women like that, where they don't understand that the woman that they're with is the generator for manifesting and multiplying and being fruitful. And that's what he destroyed. But I don't think he was truly aware of what he was really giving up. So it's going to be interesting to see where he will be. I would say the next 2 years. It will be interesting to see where he is. And I feel like the girls know what I'm talking about. Like if you're spiritual and you're truly tapped in, where you've disconnected from a guy and it just seems like their whole life just starts to go downhill. They're not making the same money. They're not as creative as they were when they were with you. They're not as motivated. They're not as inspired because they were able to benefit from being connected to you. They were able to use your energy source, and they were able to use it for themselves. And they were able to multiply things for themselves. They were able to create things for themselves. But once you don't have that connection to that energy source, things start to decline. So it's going to be interesting as well. I know you all have seen, because I always use the example, the black wife effect. And then have you seen the ones where it's the black wife effect, but it's when they downgrade or they degrade? Have you seen those? That's basically what I'm talking about. It's an energy. So it's going to be interesting to see. And that's another thing too. He could go through all of these different women, but because he's attracting casual flings, he will never have the energy source that he had with Christy. Not creatively, not inspirationally, unless he does the work on himself to develop that, which is going to take him addressing his issues and his unresolved problems that he has emotionally. But he has to get past his ego. His ego is in the way of him truly identifying with himself when it comes to his self-identity and his self-esteem. So because of that, it's going to take a while for him to really find himself in a real way. And then he doesn't have to copy his ex-wife and use her formula when it comes to content creating online. He can actually do it from a place of authentic truth. But right now, it's just, I'm just doing what my wife does because it works. And that's the formula that she uses. But he can seek his own formula. It doesn't have to be what his wife had or what his wife was doing. So let me continue. Let me see if I can find.
This message is for Desmond. See, Chrissy ain't saying nothing, so I'ma speak for the girls. Keep that same energy, my nigga. You couldn't wait to get that dick wet. You couldn't wait to be out in public just slanging it. You couldn't wait to be an outsider. Keep that same energy, because when it's her turn to get cracked, nobody wanna hear that you want your family back. I'm telling you this right now. Right now, at this moment. You feel me? Y'all went through the whole divorce thing, it got public, but then you want to go out and get your dick wet in public? TMZ caught you lacking? You didn't even catch you lacking. You wanted to get caught lacking. I don't know what it is in your soul, your spirit that got you acting all crazy and whatnot. Forgetting that you got kids and this shit fresh, you feel me? You could have been all up in the penthouse doing all this cooking and whatnot. But no, you want to be outside. You want to be a treat so bad. But keep that same energy. Keep it, because God don't like ugly. And you're going to get
And this is another thing too that I think is very delusional. And this is only for the conscious individuals, that when you don't end things amicably or end things with integrity, your new beginning is not going to be prosperous in the way that you think. This is why you should take pride in how you end things with people. Because he didn't have to end it like this. He could have tried to take the route of ending the relationship with integrity. He didn't have to lose his integrity to end this relationship or to end this marriage. He chose to do that. So you think your new beginning is going to be prosperous? That's very delusional. That's very delusional. But right now, Chrissy is still working through her. Now, I feel like she just doesn't trust anyone right now.
Okay, this is about to be a hot take. I was talking to my friend the other day about how someone's vibe can literally depict if they're attractive or unattractive. Like, you could be the most attractive person in the world, but if your vibe is bad, immediately ugly. And vice versa, like, you can be considered not attractive to societal standards, whatever that is. But if your vibe...
And then the only reason why usually for men it's prosperous is because there's always a woman somewhere around where he's able to use or to siphon her energy. So prime example with Cardi B and Stefan. Stefan, the energy that he was putting out was really trying to catch up with him, but Cardi B was in the way. As soon as Cardi B got the hell out the damn way, then you saw what happened. It was one thing after the next. He got cut from the team, then he had to go to court and all of this extra stuff. Oftentimes, the only reason why this is the majority or most times the case is because there's always a woman in the picture that he's able to siphon his energy or her energy off of. But if women would get out the damn way, then it wouldn't be. But you know, you got pick-me's and you got the ride or dies and you know, you got all of that. So a lot of times it never catches up to men because of that. Women are always in the damn way. Move out the way, step aside.
Is really good and you're confident and you just have good energy, immediately attractive. And it's so crazy how that works. Like if you're attracted to someone and then they do something that's just like, immediately ugly. Or if you're like not a model or whatever, and you're just such a vibe to be around and your aura is just like 10 out of 10, it just makes you so attractive. Like, I don't really understand it, but that's why you have to like be friends with, talk to people, date off of vibe. Like it really is all about how you carry yourself. That alone can make or break how people perceive you. This made so much sense in my head. I don't know if it's coming across on camera, but let me know what y'all think.
So you guys remember this guy that decided he no longer wanted to be a husband and he wanted to separate from his wife and he wanted to cheat on his wife for reasons that we don't know because they have decided to keep the reasons of their divorce under wraps. Well, we know for Christy filing it was because he was cheating on her, but for him asking her for a separation only in December, he never gave us a reason as to why. I said it was a midlife crisis and you guys said I was wrong. I just want you guys to listen to this interview with TMZ and the girl that he was caught on camera kissing.
Look, I won't deny.
Oh, let me speed past that.
So you see, I'm not going to say anything because a lot of women was like, oh, Christy is so annoying. I would have left her too. You know, it was about time. But going from Christy, Sarah, like, and then going from this to the, I wouldn't even touch anything, anybody after Diddy. Like, I mean, okay, I have just one genuine question. Why is it that when you guys decide that you want to destroy your family, it's never to level up? It's always a step down from what you had. And listen to what she said, I think.
And just in case Desmond is watching this interview right now, is there anything you want to say to him?
Diddy's out soon, so be careful.
So this is nothing but a case of midlife crisis. And I know.
And you know what Diddy be doing behind a woman? But that's a man that want peace.
For a fact, he will regret it. Because all this tricking, sir, all that money he was touching with Christy.
Crazy. Crazy, crazy, crazy. Let me pull this up too.
Damn, Desmond. Slow down. I know you thought the streets was calling you, but you got a little bit too much dip on your chip. According to some really reliable sources that went to TMZ, Desmond Scott is dating Diddy's baby mama. Diddy's baby mama. First of all, I'm scared for you. And you should be scared too. Because did you hear what happened to Kid Cudi? Did you hear, allegedly, did you hear what Kid Cudi said about his home and his car? Maybe you missed the trial.
But keep in mind, right? The internet said he wanted peace. That's the reason why he got out of this marriage. He was tired. He wanted peace. He wanted peace. He wanted peace. He wanted peace. So you get her? And out of all the women that Diddy has dealt with, she's the only one with his child. Cassie didn't have his kids. So that means like he has his claws in her. So he did it for peace though. That's what he did. He did it for peace. Okay. All right.
But I think you need to slow down. It was just a few weeks ago that we seen you making out with old girl in the club. Making out like you was on an episode of Boy Meets World. Like it was High School Musical. And now you dating Diddy's baby mama. I think you gotta slow down. You're moving too fast. I guess he gearing up for a hot boy summer.
And listen, so in my opinion, I do believe that Desmond is starting to feel the effects of his choice to publicly betray his wife. Because again, that was a choice. He didn't have to do that. So he's starting to feel the weight of the betrayal and the backstabbing. So he had to deal with the ending publicly. He has to deal with the public backlash. He has to deal with the loss of his family. He has to deal with his previous identity. He has to deal with these women that are coming out because Who keeps giving the media or social media his tea? So like the people that he's hanging around, he can't even trust. And it's always interesting to me when men betray a woman that has given them loyalty just for them to surround themselves around a bunch of people that are not loyal. Because who you hanging around where we get full updates on who you're with, who you hanging out with, and you had a woman at home and we didn't even know that y'all were most likely having issues in the marriage because she never talked about it. She still hasn't talked about the marriage and the ending of the marriage. So it's always interesting to me, a man looking for peace, and he decides to cheat, but then he starts surrounding himself around like-minded people that don't have integrity and they're not even loyal. So it's interesting. It serves him right though. I don't feel bad. He's free, but it seems like he's emotionally exhausted because you have to constantly look over your shoulder. He never had to do that before. And he has to constantly second guess people's intentions and if they're genuine and if they really see him for who he really is and all of that jazz. But he always constantly now has to watch his back constantly. But this is a man that wanted peace. And it's very clear that these rebounds are just distractions. So he's using new connections, you know how they are, to avoid dealing with his real issues, like everything that's going on right now with his life. So Desmond to me is showcasing his emotional state by jumping into these casual situationships. And it really shows that he's emotionally unstable because a person that's emotionally stable would be around women that are emotionally intelligent or at least would be loyal or show some type of, I don't know, obligation to not put your business out here. But he's not developing those relationships because he's not emotionally available because he's emotionally unstable. So he keeps bumping into these women that could care less. So another thing too is, like I said, Desmond lost his best teammate. Him and Christy weren't just a couple, they were a high functioning production team and a global brand. So I also believe that he feels the loss of that professional and creative energy. He is now a solo act. He has to build alone. And I know he regrets his choice because building alone is hard. How do I know? I'm single. You had a partner, you had a partner that was loyal and you gave that up to go build alone and to deal with these fly by night women that are putting your business on social media. And then it's like you're hanging around random people that it doesn't even seem like he was hanging around before. And then all of a sudden, all of your business is on social media, but you wanted peace. Also, to me, I feel like Desmond is very performative. And that also kind of gives you insight on a person not really being comfortable in who they are, comfortable in their skin. And so they're trying to find themselves. And I believe that this is why he stepped out of his marriage. He was going through a midlife crisis where he was really trying to find, who am I? I know who I am in this marriage, in this relationship. I know who I am in this shared brand with my wife, but I don't know who I am outside of that. So you're seeing him outside in the streets trying to find himself, and it's coming across like a midlife crisis. Another thing too that I'm noticing is that he tries to lean into this masculine ego and like this independence, but it comes across as trying too hard. It just does. It comes across as trying too hard. And I don't know. It seems like when he was in his marriage, maybe it was Christy, but it just seems like he felt more comfortable in his skin when it came to his masculine energy. Or maybe he was performing then too. I don't know. But he just seemed way more confident when she was around. And now it just seems super performative, as if he doesn't even know what to do, where to go. And he's kind of struggling with that. And I'm going to be real. It seems like Christy is kind of struggling with that too, just a little bit, but not as much as Desmond. It seems like with Desmond, he just doesn't know how to operate in his masculine independence. It seems like he knew how to operate in his dependent masculine energy or interdependent masculine energy with his wife, but he doesn't seem to know how to do that as a solo person now that he's single. So he's trying to act his way into a new life because he knows that he can't go back. So now that he's made his choice, he can't go back. But the only way to be in this new space is to perform until he can really truly figure himself out. But he's distracting himself from these casual relationships with these women. So I believe that he is mourning the loss of the shared empire that he spent a decade building with his wife, but it still just wasn't enough for him to stay in the relationship because I believe that he felt caged. I believe that he didn't know who he was outside of what he built and his marriage, his brand, his business. And he wanted to step outside of that to really, truly try to find himself. But again, it wasn't really, to me, I don't see anything wrong with that. The only issue was how he went about it. And I feel like people are being disingenuous when you say things like, well, it's not really a big deal, but it is a big deal because he didn't have to do it like that though. He did not have to do it like that. He could have ended his relationship amicably, and it really could have just came down to the fact that they outgrew each other, and he really wanted to find himself now that he's coming more into knowing the world and knowing his place in it, and now he just wants to expand further within that space. But he didn't choose to do that. He just was like, you know what? I want out, and this is the quickest way that I know I can get out. So I'm just gonna cheat. I'm gonna publicly humiliate my wife. I'm gonna humble her, and then I'm gonna step out and I'm gonna do my own thing. And that's what he's been doing ever since. Even when the situation first popped off, Christy was not posting to social media, but Desmond was posting constantly, and he's been posting ever since. And people will gaslight me till this day that he was not jealous of his wife, but this man has not taken a break. As someone that was seeking privacy and peace, he's been outside in the streets, he's been posting to social media, and he's been causing a lot of chaos when it comes to his wife and the drama. So he's really been fueling it, not trying to stay away from it. So let me show you this too. Let me see if I can find it. Let me see.
This channel is going to feature all things that I love, so everything down to, cooking. And so I hope.
And this is the thing that I'm not understanding was why could he not do this before? Why does he feel like, oh, I can do it now? Again, it's the word choice. And he is saying I can do it now. I can dive into it now because I don't have my wife blocking my shine, taking my shine, taking my dip. Let's go over that one more time. Hold on. Let me go back a little bit.
As I mentioned, but the majority of the channel will be featured around cooking. That's relation.
And I'm gonna say this too, because it's starting to wear off. I'm an energy reader. It's starting to wear off. But Christy gave this man confidence. And the girls know what I'm about to say. When you give a man confidence, you speak life into them and you make them feel comfortable in their skin, you know what they do? They betray you and they go get in another woman's face with the confidence that you helped them with. And it's starting to wear off. It's really starting to wear off because you could tell like Christy was in his ear like, oh, you should do this, babe. You should do this. You should do this, babe. Oh, you would be so good at this. You got this. Like, oh my gosh, like probably like really speaking life and motivation into him. And now he doesn't have that. And it shows. It shows really bad. I'm trying to find the part where he said dive into. Let me see. Dive into now.
Content surrounding that, my life and my children, as I mentioned, but the majority of the channel will be featured around. This channel is going to feature all things that I love, so everything down to lifestyle and my life as a father. You might see my kids from time to time. I teach them a lot of the things that I want them to learn in the kitchen as well. I personally enjoy things like fashion. As a man, I think that it's definitely a pretty cool space to dive into. And so you'll see content surrounding that, my life and my children, as I mentioned, but the majority of the channel will be featured around cooking. That's really what I feel like many of you have come to know me for. Many of you have stuck around and showed love towards the different things that I would make, a lot of my dishes, and really just my overall love for cooking. And so I hope that I can share that with you guys. That's what this channel is going to be about. I'm glad that you're here. We'll figure out how everything will continue to grow, and we'll grow together and continue to make amazing food and turn a lot of you guys into amazing cooks and home chefs. And also too, you know, I'm here.
Okay, I still can't find it. I can't find it. But I feel like my point is proven. The point of this video is several things. So on one hand, this man felt like he couldn't be himself in this marriage. Like it was never going to work because he felt that way. And it's about how he feels. It doesn't mean that it's true or it's the truth of the situation, but that's how he felt. And again, there's nothing wrong with that. Let me make myself very clear. There's nothing wrong with you feeling like you can't be yourself in a space and feeling the need to leave. There's nothing wrong with that. But how you go about leaving matters, because you could destroy your new beginning. You could destroy, or you could cause issues with you wanting to start something new and have an adventure of maybe going through a phase of self-discovery. So that's the point, is you don't have to betray someone or stab somebody in the back just because you want out of a situation. Be emotionally mature enough to have that conversation with that person. And it's going to require you to be vulnerable, real. It's going to require you to be vulnerable and real. But again, when you're dealing with an ego-driven man, they don't know how to be vulnerable. So that conversation could never, it was never going to be had. And so now he's created this horrible phase and cycle in his life where now any new thing that he tries to create is going to be harder. And it could have been with ease. It could have been with purpose. It could have been with alignment. But he chose to betray and to backstab his wife to get out of a marriage. And he did it, to me, this is strictly my opinion, on purpose, because he wanted to assert his dominance. He wanted to assert his dominance publicly. So the only way that he could do that was to humble her and to humiliate her. And he was successful with that. So much so to the point, if you go to his Instagram, you'll see all type of women in the comment section just being pygmicious. Like it's one hell of a sight to see. And a lot of women fell for that. A lot of women fell for that. A lot of women fell for this whole act. And it's just crazy to me. But my issue isn't that he wanted out. My issue was how he went about it. And I'm telling you, when you want to get out of a relationship, end it amicably, end it with integrity, so that when you end that relationship, in that cycle, you can start new and fresh in good energy, and not start new and fresh in this karmic energy when it comes to your new beginning. That is the point. So, and what is karmic energy? Karmic energy is when things are not going to go smoothly for you, things are not going to go as planned, that it's going to be more challenging. Things are going to be more adverse. Things are going to be more emotionally taxing. Things may be more draining. So he wants to be in this creative energy, but it's going to be harder for him to be in that creative energy because he has that lingering karmic energy from his past choices and decisions that he made. So he could have ended it amicably with integrity. He could have started fresh. He would have had the creativity. He would have had the alignment. He would have had the purpose. But now he's going to struggle with that. And again, it came down to the choice that he made. So I'm warning you that if you're going to end something with someone, try to do it gracefully. Try to do it with integrity. Try to do it amicably. The only time you can't is when a person is abusive. And Chrissy didn't give abusive. Chrissy didn't give that she would do something to him physically. So I just don't understand why he felt the need to take this route. And again, it really comes down to ego. That's what it comes down to. That's strictly my opinion. That's all that I have regarding this video. But let me know your thoughts and your comments down below. I want to know, do you think that he did this on purpose? Do you think that he strategically planned this from the very beginning and he used the public scandal as a way to speed things up so that he could launch his projects and the things that he wants to get into now, like cooking, fashion, and create his own separate brand from his wife? Do you think that he did it on purpose? It's really seeming that way, but I would like to hear from you. Thank you for watching. Thank you for tuning in, and I hope to see you in my next one.
This is my opinion. I'm free to state my opinion anytime I like, right? Thank you.
I don't want you to feel like that, but yeah, feel like that.
This is my opinion. I'm free to state my opinion anytime I like, right? Thank you.
I don't want you to feel like that, but yeah, feel like that.